Content marketing 3.0, what's in it for you? Now, the 3.0, who came up with it? I don't know. I call it 3.0 because if we look at what I would call 1.0, it is selling content. You are all still fairly young. Maybe some of you remember when the content marketing was, I have some interesting content and I want to sell it to you. Usually white papers, courses, all kind of information that online internet gurus were going to sell you. And actually quite often they turned out selling their own experience, which of course is a great business model. All the things that didn't work and then some maybe that did work. And they all sounded like internet millionaires and wanted you to buy their information, how you could replicate that. So that is what I would call content marketing 1.0, selling content. Right now, we are what I would call 2.0, which is sharing content. Now, you of course know all of these people here. It's quite remarkable that actually it's a man who has the most followers on Instagram with over 160 million, that's Cristiano Ronaldo. Thank you, Anros. What is remarkable is the amazing reach these people get with information that they share. So 2.0 is sharing content. And if you think, well, what's in it for sharing content? Well, if you look at Kylie Jenner, right now, a post that she shares, which is commercially endorsed, brings in about 1 million. So that is quite a business model nowadays. Now, if you look at Pewdie, he has 94 million subscribers. That means there's 94 million people on this earth who actually watch his videos. Good chance is that there's some of you in here who follow them. I have watched a few of them and it's flabbergasting. Okay, so that's 2.0, meaning sharing information and making a business model around that. Now to take that to the top level, who knows what this is? Yes, loud, I can't hear you. Hello? Yes, this is Instagram post that has the most likes ever, 54 million. Now, if you wonder why, it is because somebody had the idea, it's ridiculous that Jenner has most likes. Let's see if we can break that. Post a photo of an egg, invite people, let's all like this. And actually 54 million people did. Now they're celebrating this, it's a world record. So quite amazing. Content marketing 2.0 is quite a phenomenon. Question is now, what is 3.0? If 1.0 was selling content, 2.0 is sharing content, then 3.0, in my view, is using content. It's using content to position yourself. It's using content to become a thought leader. We'd have a look at that, how we do this process. But first, let's talk about what's an expert. So if you can all read this. I think you will, so I'll let you just read it for a moment. This is about being an expert. It takes 10,000 hours focused work to become an expert. According to your resume, you don't have what it takes. And then the very intelligent question, how many hours have you practiced doing interviewing? So, the idea being, of course, you want to be an expert and want to be dealing with an expert. So what's the solution? Grandma or mom already told you, if you have a problem, ask for an expert. If your tooth aches, you're not going to a car mechanic. If your car breaks down, you're not asking a landscaper. You know, we all love experts, right? That's what the world is about. Why are you here? You're studying to become an expert. Because as expert, you have value. That is the whole point of studying. Now, if we look at an expert, what makes somebody an expert? How can you qualify? How do you understand that somebody is an expert? Again, I'd like to have a little bit of feedback. What makes somebody an expert? And if we can have fast feedback, otherwise it'll be an hour and a half college, it'll be a bit long. Education, yes. Any others? Sorry? Profession, yes. What does profession mean? Experience. Anybody else? What makes an expert? He has studied, yeah, or he has knowledge. No? He's good in what he does. No? He has training. He practices. And actually, he likes to be recognized as an expert. No? When you go to a good dentist, he makes you understand and feel that he's a good dentist and that you're privileged that he's treating you. Yeah? Now, what is special about the experts? Experts are always solution-oriented. You know? I have the right solution for you. Yeah? By the way, the talk today will basically be about the work you'll be doing later on for companies or for organizations, can be non-profit organizations, where the question is, not just as a person, but as an organization. Who are we? You know, what sets us apart? You know, and what makes us expert in the field that we are operating in? So the first fact is that experts focus on solutions. They have often their own methodology, they have their own approach, and they will be happy to explain you why their approach is better than somebody else's approach. So not only are they experts, they're also trying to convince you and compare why he or she is better than another one. You know, because my expertise is better than the other person's expertise. Now also, as an expert, you are constantly under pressure to stay at the top of the game. So it means you constantly have to train, you have to learn, you have to rehearse, you have to practice, you have to follow additional courses. The goal is to increase my expertise so that I stay on top of the game. And if I say, you know, I really made it, means I have acquired knowledge. I know it all, and I'll be happy to explain it to you how it works. You know, that's how an expert works. That's where also the value in an expert lays. Now, when you look at a little example, randomly chosen, the University of Amsterdam, and you look at their website, what is immediately obvious? Is there a pointer here? Well, you can see it. Modern institution with a long and rich history, the UVA is one of Europe's most prominent research-led universities. In other words, an expert. Now, if you look at another university, it's the best masters since 2010. I would say they're claiming to be an expert. How about Utrecht? Again, putting forward, we are the expert. Because after all, if you're looking for a university where to study, you want to find a university where there is added value and where you learn something and you can become yourself an expert. Erasmus University. Same thing, when you look at it, what they are focusing on, it's all we are the expert. You should trust us. We can bring the knowledge that you look for. Now, the problem with all of them, let me just go back. If you look at all 4 of them, again, and I don't have the internet connection, otherwise I would actually scroll them down. But what is the challenge here? If you would change the logo, like University of Amsterdam of this one, and you would put Rotterdam on there, or you would put Nijrode here, would anybody notice? They all say what we do, the programs we offer, the BBA, the masters, the faculty, and it actually is all focused on we do, we offer, we are. What is greatly lacking there? Who is this all about? This is all about the universities. It is all about them. Who are these sites targeting? Any ideas? Is it? Who are they targeting? Who are these? Why are these universities putting up websites? Whom do they want to be seen by? Please. Wonderful, thank you. Any other thoughts on this? Potentially, yes. Have you seen anything on students or investors on there? Now, if you dig deep on some of them, actually it's remarkable, of the 4, 3 of them have nothing on students. 1 has a section, a small section on students, but you need to find it. Yeah, in what sense? Yes, and how do they do that? They present themselves as we're the best expert. Like we have the best master's programs, or you can compare this by rankings, the yearly ranking of universities in the Netherlands, in Europe, in the United States, the best master, the best international program, etc. So there's many ways where they can compete, but it is always based on their expertise. Now, you obviously have all chosen to study here. The question is, you could have gone to several other universities. And if you look at the information that is supplied, you could probably have gone to any of the other ones, because they also have maybe the line that you're studying. They have professors, they have masters, they have good ratings. So basically, if you look at these websites, one would say, from a branding point of view, they're very easily exchangeable, because they all say more or less the same thing. And so here we have a competition of experts. You have a competition between experts. And the question is, how can one win in a competition among experts? How can one stand out among experts? I've used this example of university. The same is true for any organization or company that operates in a competitive environment, which basically means all of them. Even non-profit is extremely competitive. So, as organizations, if you are presenting yourself as an expert, it's very important that you be seen as an expert. But if you're next to a whole selection of experts, how can you make a difference? How is a choice made? I'm not sure if you've had that course yet, psychology and the process of making choices, making decisions. A choice, is it rational or emotional? Who said both? Why? That's a very good one. Anybody else? Please. So basically you agree with him?
Yeah, but like it's true. It's like a basic fundamental practice that comes.
Did I say it's not true? Okay. In a choice process, you have both, but they're sequential. If you have to make a choice between options, you first make a list of the various options you have, and that is extremely rational. What does it cost? What do I get? What's the ranking? Where is it? How far do I need to travel? Etc. That is all purely rational. However, I keep falling over this chair. However, the actual choice is purely emotional. I'll give you an example. If we would make rational choices, we would all be driving Skoda Fabias. It's big enough for a family, can take you on long trips, you can go shopping with it. But hey, there's lots of people who would never want to be seen in a Skoda Fabia. No? If it's purely rational, you would be studying in the University of New Delhi. You know why? You have the same course at 1/10 of the price, with free accommodation. But probably not many of you feel comfortable to be studying in New Delhi, although that could be a really good choice. But anyway, that's the emotional part of it. So the question here, back to our experts, is if you have a website and you're presenting yourself as an expert, what do you focus on? On all the rational bits that show that you're an expert. On the things that you have won, on the lists where you're in the top, on the professors who publish the most, I mean, you name it, anything rational, you put it on there to show, hey, we're really it. And it's important because in the rational phase of the choice, this will be compared to each other. However, if you cannot connect on the emotional basis, if you cannot give reassurance, fulfillment, pleasure, what do I think, how do I feel, how would others see me, etc., you risk of not being chosen. And so when you look at those websites, and I'm not talking about the university websites only, but general websites of companies and organizations who inform and present themselves as experts, the consequence is you go and visit their website once, or maybe twice, because you get all the rational information and then been there, done that. There's not really much reason to come back to. So how can you move away from this rational and find more connect on an emotional basis? That is where the content marketing 3.0 comes in. And here's the key. The key. The key, there's no more key. Here's the key. If you want to populate a website with interesting information that can relate and engage and touch the visitors and make them come back, you need to find interesting information for them. You need to be able to make that interesting information relevant to them, and you need to be able to distribute it through all your communication channels. And that is what Content Marketing 3.0 is about. Finding information that is new, that is surprising, that is engaging, that is infuriating, that in one way or another interests or touches your audience. Make that one then relevant, because just because somebody posted it, it doesn't mean it is yet fully relevant to your audience. You make that relevant, and then you publish it. This is the whole key to Content Marketing 3.0. And this really is annoying. And there are three things that we want to focus on when we're talking about using Content Marketing 3.0 and to have success in using Content Marketing 3.0. The first one is focus on your audience. We looked at the university websites, they're focused on themselves. We. Focus on the audience. What are their needs? What are their desires? What are their aspirations? And obviously, if you are a university, you'd say, well, our audience want to study. Our audience want good professors. I think that the audience wants a lot more than that. You can look at yourselves. Would you just want a good professor during your study time? What makes a study time successful? What will be if after 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 years, when you finish your studies, you look back and you say, my time at the University of Amsterdam was absolutely brilliant. The foundation for the success of my future life. Please, throw it at me. Nothing? All you want is a good professor? Please.
Why did you choose to study here?
No? Time management? How does the university help you in time management? Okay, so it offers you different channels to study, both in-house, online, maybe external study groups, work groups. Okay, time management, great. Anything else? Please. People. Yes? What can the university do for that? Okay. How does the university stimulate that? The exchange, the meeting, other people, different, diverse, etc. Okay? Anything else? Please. Nice building. Excellent. Please.
Just come here because, the US ranking, maintaining communication science.
Okay.
Yeah, but then now I'm here, and I think, all of your education isn't all that great, but, I'm still here because I'm in Amsterdam most of the day.
All right. So there, the University of Amsterdam has some work to do.
Yes, a lot of work to do.
Okay? Make sure to feed that back to them.
Oh, don't worry, I'm doing that.
Anybody else? I mean, if you would look at the audience of students, of course you want to study. Of course you want it to be efficient. So anything that can help in that. But think a little bit wider. Any of you go to the library to study? Any? Or one doesn't go to libraries anymore here? Yes? Somebody go to study library? Okay. Imagine that there is a research from Kellogg's University, the psychology department, that shows that classical music, and especially that by Brahms, actually facilitates the memorizing of text by 40%. Now imagine that university would publish that on the website, and they say, hey, they found out music Brahms helps in memorizing text. Pretty cool. Now they could just publish that on the website, and if you go on the website, you might say, oh, interesting, let's see, who is Brahms? Maybe I can find something from Brahms. Now if they take it a step further, and they would not just publish the article of Kellogg's University, but they would say, Kellogg's University discovered this, and actually that is why we are starting a project where every Thursday evening, from 8 till 10, there'll be Brahms in the university. Not only that, but we are inviting the students to come and test it. And if you like it, if it works, we'll expand it. What if the nutrition department of a think tank discovers that a specific cocktail of nutrients really reduces stress and helps concentration in study week? Again, great. If they would publish that on the website, you'd say, okay, cool, see where I can find it, go to the pharmacy. No? Now what if they publish that and say, they discovered that this really helps. So what we're doing during study week, we're having special pop-up stands where we're making these juices fresh so that students can try it and benefit of this. Think of culture. Think other things of health. Think finances. Think housing. There are so many areas of interest around the purely studying that affect to what extent it will have been a brilliant time or not. And if an organization who is an expert in a very narrow area looks at the wider area of interests around that, and in these wider areas identifies experts, and then publishes the information that those experts have published, but not just publishing them, but makes them relevant, then we're talking about content marketing 3.0. So what you need for that, you need to really know your audience. You need to understand what is not just their primary desire, but what is all the areas around it that will actually have an impact, and quite a significant impact on their primary goal, but also it will connect in an emotional way, and it will create an engagement that is far beyond the rational we are ranking number 62 in the international rankings of universities. I keep trying this. I'll learn by the end. So that was the first one. The first one is know your audience and focus on your audience. Don't focus on who you are and what you can do. Focus on your audience. Second one, resonance. Create and use resonance. What is resonance? If you hit a note, it makes a sound. If you hit a note and another note that is very close but not the same, they actually reinforce each other. A piano has 3 strings for the high notes. Why? So that it sounds louder, it reaches further, it is stronger. Guess what? Communication is exactly the same. If the university says we care about our students and we want their top performance and we want them to be the best they can be, that's one thing. You can say that. But if you come with various of these examples I just gave, and you show that you care, not just by saying we care, but you find things that will actually help them, that can contribute in various ways. Basically what you're doing, you're using a report from a nutritionist scientist that has actually nothing to do with your marketing study, but you're making it relevant because it can help your marketing students to perform better. The same with music. You all have your preferences of music, but if Brahms actually helps you to get better marks, and it's the university who brings that information to you, then the fact that the university says, we want to get the best out of you, and we want you to perform the best, and we want you to achieve your goals, and we want to be there with you all the way, gets a completely different voice. And it starts to sound much louder, it is much more credible, and there's actually things to share. Because if the university would have published these things, it's very likely you would have shared it on Facebook, you would have sent it to your friends and family. You know what? Guess what the university just published? I mean, this is crazy, but hey, if it's true, I'm going to try it. You know? That is the emotion. That is the engagement. And the resonance helps you to reinforce that message. The third part where you need to focus in Content Marketing 3.0 is put your brains where the added value is. This process of finding interesting information, editing it to make it relevant, and distributing it through your channels takes time and resources. And so most organizations spend a lot of time on this finding part, because you got to go to all kind of websites, you got to keep looking if there's anything new, etc. And a lot of time on the distribution, because we want to publish it on the website, but then Facebook, the size is different, and in our newsletter, we have a different layout, so it's complicated technically. So what you want to look at is find ways to accelerate the finding of the right information, to facilitate the distribution, and have you spend the time in adding value, meaning making the information that was interesting, making that relevant to your audience. Those are the 3 keys to remember and to focus on for making a successful implementation for Content Marketing 3.0. Now there's a definition on LinkedIn that I thought, well, why not? Share the definition of somebody else. Thought leader looks to the future and sets a course that others will follow. Thought leaders look to existing best practices to come up with better best practices. They form a change, often causing disruption. As an expert, you do want to stand out among experts, and you do that by connecting to other experts, not of your specific area, but about peripheral areas of interest. That's the only thing that's missing in this definition. Okay, I'll write to them about it. So, we saw experts. Now we see a thought leader. Where an expert is trying to sell you his solutions, we have the best solutions, the thought leader focuses on the audience's needs, desires, and aspirations. If you are wanting to set yourself or your organization apart as a thought leader, and you are obviously an expert in your field because you cannot be a thought leader without being an expert, then you are going to stop trying to sell yourself. You are going to show that you have a wider view. You have a holistic view of what your audience needs. And that will actually attract them to you. You will not be pushing or selling. You will be sharing and attracting. Now, it's interesting that an expert is under constant pressure to always stay on top of the game, to always refine his expertise. A thought leader, the focus is on extending the network. And the interesting thing is, as soon as you start sharing somebody else, some other experts' insights, and you make them relevant to your audience, you will see that other experts will also be attracted to you because they see that you have an interest for things that go wider than just the narrow, this is my business and this is what I'm selling. And so the really cool thing is, if you are doing this, you start doing this with connecting with expert of peripheral expertise, you will actually attract others and you will create a bigger network and become part of a network, and ideally be seen as the one who is at the center and who is managing this network. Because at the end of the day, you know that it's not knowledge that really makes the difference, but influence. So if you can have influence by bringing unique insights, by bringing expert and expertise outside of your direct area, but making it relevant to your audience, they will come to you and ask you to sit on their board, on their panel, and discuss how do we move forward with this. That is the power of being a thought leader. Okay, don't want to hide, there's a few challenges. Just because this is very simple, find interesting content, edit it to make it relevant, and distribute it through your channels to the audience. Just because this is simple does not mean it is easy. It takes work. You need to really think. You need to think what really interests your audience and what are the areas that you want to address. So that is a key thing. Another thing is the mindset. We always default towards selling. I'm the expert, buy me. No? It's difficult to get over that. It's even difficult to convince your own organization about that, let alone your financial director. But it is key. If you have a mindset of bringing value, of bringing new insights, of bringing unusual expert knowledge from outside of your expertise to the table and make it useful to your clients, that really sets you apart. And it sets your company apart. Which goes straight to the return on investment. Question is always, well, how much money do I put in and when do I get the money back on this? It's like, well, if you can figure that out, please do. I'll leave you my email. The thing is, what is the option? What is the alternative? You either do a advertising campaign and spend a lot of money in there to show I'm the expert, I'm the best, forget the rest. Or you are working on and towards becoming a thought leader. Yes, it will take longer. But also don't forget, if you are seen, if your website makes that your customers come to your website and they say, wow, interesting, didn't know, should try this. Or, wow, surprising, and they will share about that, you are getting the most valuable endorsement for free, which is word of mouth from friends and family. Now, if the financial director is asking, well, how much this costs, I say, well, how about getting the best, most effective advertising for free? Usually they're fairly open for that. But this is a discussion that is always happening. But so the question is not, does it cost? Yes, of course it costs. The question is, what is the alternative? And does it cost more? And above all, is it a short-term or a long-term? Is it building brand equity? Doing everything to become a thought leader builds brand equity for you and for the organization that you work with. Quick word about the tools. You do need tools to do this, okay? There is a whole series of tools for each of these steps that you can use. As Anro said, I myself, I'm involved in this with a organization, or better, a solution called InfoAsset. And here's a checklist that we use for clients or potential clients to evaluate. I'll just run them through so that you get a grasp and understanding what to look out for when you're looking at tools. Now, the first thing is it just you, or is it going to be a team? Because if you're having a team working on content marketing, you do want to invest in a tool that allows collaborative working on this. Otherwise, you're going to waste tremendous amount of time and money. Often when one talks about content marketing, most companies are actually only interested in monitoring. What does the internet say about me? How often do I appear? What's the sentiment, positive or negative? How has that changed? Those who want monitoring, just get a monitoring tool. It's the easiest and simplest way to move forward. However, if you're wanting to use content marketing, you're not monitoring your reputation, you are building your reputation. So that is an important thing to understand for you and for the organization. Are you just wanting to monitor, or are you wanting building reputation, building your brand equity? In-house or in the cloud, I think it's pretty obvious. The next is maybe a bit strange question for you. All of you know GDPR? It's been around, heard it, yeah? Okay, there's a big difference nowadays. If your server is in the US or in Europe, for some organizations that's very important, for others less. And the last one, geek or system, meaning if you have 3, 4, 5 different programs who manage this whole process, this is perfectly fine if you have a geek who can manage that. Many organizations, as soon as they become a little bit bigger, they don't want to depend on that one geek staying there and knowing how to connect in all these programs. They want a system that integrates from beginning till end the distribution. That is where InfoAsset comes in, and that is the last thing I will say of InfoAsset, because I'm not here to pitch it. So, the question is, and we're basically in time, expert or thought leader? Up to you. Thank you for your time.